depending on who you ask, the disrespect level for the Chargers is palpable. Like it is real. And there's a level of it that makes sense, and there's a level of it that, quite frankly, doesn't make sense. When I look at this team and when I see who the players are, you have to ask yourself, like, why do we not get more credit where credit is due? And here's what I'm talking about. In a recent article, ESPN, and most of you will be like, it's ESPN, throw it away. And I get that, and maybe you should throw this away. But the Chargers' young talent is considered decidedly mid. I think that right now it is decided as middle of the pack, but I'm going to tell you next year and the year after that, they are going to be a top 5 team when it comes to young talent. Now, the teams that lead the way in this are the Texans and the Lions, and that's fine. That actually makes sense. But talent goes beyond just quarterbacks, all right? Talent goes beyond players who have already proven it. There are some teams that are getting credit for rookies that haven't even played a snap yet. All right, the Chargers, as it says here in this, enter with a slew of promising young talents under the guidance of Harbaugh. The most notable addition this offseason is there's number 5 pick in the draft, Joe Alt, who is poised to become the next great Bolt. Alongside Alt, Chargers have several other young players expected to step up and carry the load. Despite that, they are ranked 15 in the under 25 talent. All right, this is the quote. The Chargers may be surprisingly low when you see that they have 4 blue chip players, but both Johnson and John Stone narrowly qualified, said Schatz. The Chargers have a good amount of young talent, but they're missing that one no doubt young star. I think they will have that at least one, and there's going to end up being 2 and even more when you can include the rookie class into next year's, and we'll talk about who those players will be. And I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. But because I think there's a lot of players that are going to be very, very good for this team. So he almost is making an argument for himself that he's wrong. He's almost making that argument for himself. He's sitting there talking about how they have the talent. Says they have a good amount of talent, but they're missing that one young star. So who is the talent? Like, who are we looking at here? I would say the offensive line features both Zion Johnson and Jamarie Salyer, who could both be there. I think Pipkins might be just a little too old to make this list. He's 27. He's almost 28. All right, so that is one of the reasons there. They have top 3 wide receivers are all under 25, including Palmer, including Johnstone, all right, including Ladd McConkey, who will be a bona fide blue chipper. They have Joe Alt. On the defensive side of the ball, they have Tui Tuipulotu, who is absolutely a blue chipper, all right, and then Asante Samuel Jr. These are good players. Asante Samuel Jr. is poised for a breakout year, all right, now that he's not playing on a poor defense. Tui Tuipulotu is going to continue to ascend. They're not going to make him play more snaps than he has to because he has a ton of talent ahead of him. This is a good thing. I think you are going to see a lot of players next year make this list that aren't there now. Guys by the likes of Junior Colson is going to be a top 20 or top 100 player under 25. Dion Henley, I believe firmly, is going to be a player that is making a name for himself at this time next year. All right, and then you have, some of the standard players as well that are just, frankly, good players. All right, that is good, but I really do think they're there. I think what also hurts is that Rashawn Slater is 25 and like 2 months, so he doesn't count on this. And that was kind of my first thing was, are you kidding me? Slater, Johnson, all right, Alt, and I was like, what? That's phenomenal. Then you go and you look at Asante Samuel Jr. You look at Tui Tuipulotu. You look at guys like Josh Palmer. And it's like, how are they not in a top 10 for young talent? But then when I heard that Rashawn Slater was outside of the 25-year-old range, all of a sudden it kind of became clear to me that, like, all right, I'm starting to understand this. But then you look at the other stars. Herbert, 26, right? J.K. Dobbins, over 25. He's 25 and a half. You look at guys that are good young players. Parham, 26, right? Like this, it's not like this is an old crew, all right? It's not an old crew, but at the same time, they're not young enough to make it. Alohi Gilman is 26. All these guys are 26 that are just missing it. If it's last year, we have a different conversation. So I guess my question for you is, what is your belief on this team? Like, do you believe that 15 is the right ranking? Do you think it's too high? Or do you think it's too low? Like, is it, it's like the porridge, right? And the Three Bears or whatever it is. Like, is it too hot, too cold, or just right? The more I think about it and the more I realize it's players that are 26 and then multiple rookies, it feels just right. It feels like he took into account that the draft, it was a very good draft. And you have Alt, McConkey, Junior Colson. You have all these guys that you can almost pencil in to starting roles. You can almost put it in pen, to be completely honest. I'd put it in pen, right? But they haven't done it yet. So while there might be some disrespect, if they are 15 again next year, it might be disrespect. If these guys end up doing what we think they're going to do, it won't be. So let's just have that conversation and let's just realize, like, yep, they're 15th now. That just talks to this draft class. And when we talk about this draft class, that makes me think about, like, is this the best draft class, even though they haven't played, that you've seen? And when was the last time you saw a draft class that was this good? And that's the question that I just kind of want to hit on. And I can go on this. In 2023, last year, I'll pull up the drafts, all right? And maybe I should have done it even faster, all right? Joe Alt, Ladd McConkey, all right? Junior Colson, all are sitting there as almost guaranteed starters. Tarheeb Still is turning heads at practice. Kamani Vidal, people are already talking about how he is going to be in the running back rotation. That's a good draft. Last year, you had Quentin Johnson, Tuli Tuipulotu. Those were good players. Dion Henley for a third-round pick, underwhelming. Darius Davis, almost exactly what you expected him to be. McFadden, Matlock, Duggan, right? Like, what are these guys doing right now? What are these guys doing? I don't like taking players in late rounds that can't help on special teams. It drives me nuts. All right? You need to have some special teams help. In 2022, Zion Johnson, JT Woods, Isaiah Spiller, Otito Ogbania, I'm sorry, Jamarie Sawyer, Jasir Taylor, right? Deion Leonard. How many of these guys are still playing at a high level for all of you? Rashawn Slater, Asante Samuel Jr., Josh Palmer, that's a good first 3 rounds in a draft in 2021. Which of these other guys? It's funny that Nick is around now, right? Like, which of these other guys are around for you? 2020, you got Herbert. Who else is around? Who's here? Alohi Gilman. Thank you. Good job. All right, 2019, Trey Pipkins. Cool. 2018, Derwin James. Nuosu played well. Kazir White played okay. This is the deepest draft class you've had in a long time, and I just want you to remember that. While you're not getting the recognition of being one of the best top 10 teams under 25 yet, it's coming. All right, for more Chargers content, please hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.